Young black boy pleads with bikers for protection. The secret inside his bag leaves them stunned. In a smoky biker bar on the edge of town, hardened men with leather jackets and scarred knuckles found themselves at a loss for words. A little black boy, no older than 7, stood trembling before them, clutching a red backpack to his chest. He wasn't looking for trouble, nor was he lost. He was begging for protection. What could drive a child to seek safety among outlaws feared by many? And more chilling, what was hidden inside his bag that left even the most brutal bikers frozen in shock? This is a story of fear, survival, and a truth too heavy for a child to carry. It was a late Friday evening, the kind where the neon lights outside the biker bar flickered against the dark road. Inside, laughter mixed with the clinking of bottles, stories of challenging rides and more complicated lives filled the room. These men weren't used to surprises, and if one thing was sure, it was that outsiders rarely stepped through those doors uninvited. But on this night, the atmosphere shifted. The door creaked open, and in stepped a little boy. His small frame looked out of place among the towering figures and leather vests. His sneakers were worn, his hoodie too big for him, and a faded red backpack hung from his shoulders. The bikers exchanged puzzled glances. Children didn't wander into bars, not here, not ever, and certainly not alone. The boy didn't flinch under their stares. He moved forward with an odd mix of fear and determination, as if he had already faced something far scarier than a room full of bikers. His eyes darted toward the back exit, then back to the men who were now quietly watching him. He finally stopped, standing in the middle of the room, clutching his backpack. Though his lips quivered, his stance was firm, almost defiant. He didn't come here by accident. He went with a purpose. Somewhere beyond those walls, something or someone was chasing him. And whatever it was, he believed these men, outlaws to the rest of the world, were the only ones who could protect him. None of them yet knew the weight of what he carried, not just in his bag, but in his story. The bikers weren't strangers to desperation. They had seen men broken by debt, women running from violence, and friends lost to the system. But something was haunting about the boy's silent plea. He stood there, his eyes wide but steady, gripping his backpack like it contained his entire world. The leader of the group, a man known for his gruff exterior and iron fists, slowly rose from his chair. He had seen countless things in his life, yet nothing could have prepared him for this child's quiet resolve. The boy's presence was both unsettling and sobering, a stark reminder that cruelty didn't spare the innocent. The others noticed, too. Their laughter faded. The clatter of pool balls ceased. The boy's shadow stretched across the dusty floorboards, growing heavier with each passing second. Wordlessly, he lowered his backpack to the ground. The sound of the zipper tugging open cut through the silence like a blade. What could be inside? Drugs? Money? A weapon? These men, hardened by years of suspicion, braced themselves. When the flap finally opened, they saw not danger, but evidence. Inside were crumpled papers, photographs, and official-looking documents. Some were marked with stamps, others with names scribbled out. But one detail stood out: the names of government officials, court seals, and medical notes. It didn't take long for them to piece it together. This boy wasn't just running from home. He was running from a system that had failed him. The documents revealed something chilling. His mother was fighting a legal battle. Not against strangers, but against a corporation that had stolen land and wealth from their family decades earlier. His father had disappeared trying to bring justice, and now his mother's life was at risk. Corruption ran deep, and those in power wanted the evidence gone. The boy had carried the proof in his small backpack, believing it was safer with him than in any courthouse. Somewhere along the line, his mother had been silenced, and now the boy feared he was next. The bikers exchanged glances. They weren't saints, but they had their own set of rules, and nothing ignited their fury more than the strong preying on the weak. Still, helping this child meant taking on forces far bigger than themselves. It meant exposing themselves to risks they had long learned to avoid. Yet none of them could shake the truth in the boy's eyes. This wasn't just about one child's survival. It was about exposing a truth that powerful men would rather bury, and in that smoky room, a decision began to form, one that would change them all. Night fell heavier as the bikers gathered around the boy's backpack, spreading out the documents across the worn wooden table. Each piece of paper revealed deeper layers of corruption, land deeds rewritten, bribes exchanged, medical records altered. It was a web of lies tied to powerful names, the kind of people who never expected the poor, let alone a child, to fight back. The boy stood quietly, watching them piece together his story. He didn't need to explain much. The papers spoke louder than words. The room grew hotter, tension rising as realization sank in. By protecting him, they were declaring war against a system designed to crush people like him and his family. But the bikers were no strangers to war. Their lives had been built on defiance, on carving out space in a world that had written them off. And in that moment, they made their choice. The leader turned toward the boy, his weathered face hard but resolute. Around him, the others straightened, readying themselves not for a fight of fists and chains, but a fight of truth. The door burst open. Heavy footsteps echoed. Figures appeared in the doorway, men in suits, with badges that didn't look like they belonged, the kind of men who carried power in their pockets and violence in their eyes. For a split second, fear flickered in the boy's face. But then something shifted. He looked at the bikers, at their unyielding stance, and he knew he wasn't alone anymore. The room erupted in chaos. Shouts filled the air, boots scraped against the floor. And for the first time, those men in suits realized they had underestimated the resolve of outlaws who had nothing left to lose. The boy's backpack remained clutched against his chest, the truth still safe within. By dawn, the bar was quiet again. The men in suits were gone, driven out, exposed, or left scrambling for control. The boy sat at the center of it all, exhausted but safe, his backpack still with him. The bikers knew this was only the beginning. Protecting him meant more than shelter. It meant making sure his mother's fight wasn't in vain. It meant ensuring the documents reached the right hands, that the truth saw daylight, no matter how deep the corruption ran. For the boy, it meant something even greater. For the first time, he felt what it was like to be believed, to have people stand with him not out of pity, but out of conviction. The men who society labeled as outlaws had become his shield, not because they were perfect, but because they knew what it was like to be dismissed, underestimated, and written off. And as the sun rose, casting light over the dusty roads, the boy's journey was no longer his alone. His fight had become theirs too. This story isn't just about a boy with a backpack. It's about how racism and corruption intertwine to strip families of justice, and how sometimes the most unlikely protectors rise when society fails. So ask yourself, if a child placed his trust in you, clutching the last hope his family had, would you have the courage to carry that weight? Or would you turn away, leaving the burden on his small shoulders? Because sometimes the future of justice rests not in the hands of the powerful, but in the choices of those who dare to stand against them.